time to look into the House of Commons, and they were currently debating about the removal of the winter fuel payment. And it's a straightforward answer to me. I've even gone as far as running some research via ChatGPT. My first question was impact of removal of the winter fuel payment, and ChatGPT says this is the impact: increased fuel poverty, you know, um, greater financial strain, increased pressure on the health service, widening inequality, political and social backlash, economic impact. So in summary, the removal of the winter fuel payment could lead to increased fuel poverty, health and health risk and financial strain for pensioners, particularly low-income households, while also putting additional pressures on health services and widening inequality. The potential political and social consequences could also provoke strong public responses. So I went further a bit to ask. I said, what can the government do to sustain things while still removing the WFP as a winter fuel payment? See, you raised up a bunch of things like targeted energy supporting, where you could do things where you target the poorest pensioners or the poorest people who have actually been deprived, who are vulnerable, and try to ensure that they get energy bill discounts for vulnerable groups. Energy efficiency improvements, expanding pension credits, which it all sounds good, but it all sounds like it will be more costly for the government to create things like this to support the vulnerable people who probably would have lost their winter pension. And you can see, I said, by focusing on a combination of targeted support, energy efficiency measures, and long-term pension adjustments, the government could remove the winter fuel payment without exposing vulnerable pension. You get what I mean? So I now asked, I said, would this method not be more costly than allowing the winter fuel payment? I said to ChatGPT, I said, use arbitrary figures near real figures and permutate stroke forecast the financial implication with or without WFP. Because I went on YouTube, was it on Prime Minister's question, the last Prime Minister's question on the 11th of September? The Prime Minister was asked by Rishi Sunak what the impact assessment of the removal of the WFP was, and the Prime Minister could not answer. He said sometime in the future, but it's very, very clear one can do an impact assessment with ChatGPT. I said to ChatGPT, I said, assume arbitrary figures, that is near real figures, because it has all the data in the world, and try and forecast the implications as per what's the implication when they remove it, and what's the implication when it is kept. In summary, it says it will compare. It says to analyze whether alternative methods could be more costly than continuing the winter fuel payment, we need to consider the estimated cost of winter fuel payment and compare it to the cost of alternative measures. So how costly would it be if it's still there? So it says the cost of the winter fuel payment. Let's assume that the cost of winter fuel payment is 2.5 billion annually. Which is historically the average that the UK actually spends on such expenditures, and let's assume that around 11 million pensioners gets this. So on average, if they get 2.5 billion annually, and that's when they're spending for winter fuel payments, and if they use other alternatives when they remove winter fuel payments, the conclusion here, because my video is going to be quite long, but the conclusion is that scenario A, when we continue with winter fuel payment, it remains the simplest and cheapest, ChatGPT says, simplest and cheapest option, costing about 2.5 billion annually. Scenario B targeted support and energy efficiencies alternatives when the winter fuel payment is removed, and it says it will cost about 3.44 billion to implement this when it's removed. So and it now says the only scenario where money can be saved is when winter fuel payment is removed without the government providing any alternatives or any support. So in summary, while removing the winter fuel payment and implementing alternatives might be more costly in the short term, it could lead to more sustainable energy use and better targeting of resources. However, if alternatives are not well planned, the removal could result in health and social consequences, making the winter fuel payment removal less costly and effective in the long run. So it's going to cost 3.44 billion for us to provide alternatives when winter fuel payments being removed, I don't know what's happening. In the short run, you're saving 2.5 billion. They say there's a 22 billion hole. I'm asking, is this 2.5 billion going to fill that 22 billion hole that you're taking money away from pensioners? These pensioners you're taking money away from, you say in the future they'll be better off. Most of them will die before that future. We're talking about the now. Don't tire, I beg.